Want is the day that I retire to walk off into the sunset, suddenly for it all to come crashing down, which is the risk within private equity. The idea that you can put it into a public arena where you have proper governance, where you have an independent chairman, independent non-executive directors, where you become more of a cog in the machine rather than the machine itself. For me, it's about creating that legacy and ensuring that it survives going forward, and that's why being in public ownership is really, really important.
Because of course this is a business that's gone bankrupt 7 times in its history. How can you be confident there won't be an 8th time?
Well, clearly what we've worked on, the seven car plan, is basically looking back at history, not only to the times of bankruptcy but also the times of Lehman shock, and saying, why did that happen? And essentially, it's MBA 101. When you have a portfolio that's very narrow and reliant on one market, GT cars in the United Kingdom, you need to broaden the portfolio and deepen the sales channel. So now we're moving towards 7 cars rather than 3, and 53 markets around the world that we're in now. We're a major exporter, and the UK represents only 30% of our sales now.
So you're putting on a lot of new capacity down in South Wales at the moment. Is there a danger that you're going to dilute the exclusivity of the brand by producing so many more vehicles?
I don't think so, because if you think about our history, in 2007 we sold 7,000 vehicles by 3 cars. Do the maths. As we go forward, we're capping ourselves at 14,000, but divided by 7. So exclusivity per car is actually increasing. Now you think about, we used to sell all of our cars in the United Kingdom. Today, the United Kingdom represents 30% of those sales, probably declining over time to more like 20%. And we're moving into countries like China, which haven't had 105 years of Aston Martin history. Plus, high net worth individuals, which are today 17 million people, is going to grow something like 25 million people by 2025. So the demand for these kinds of cars is higher. Actually, fact is, these cars, not just Aston, but Ferraris and Lamborghinis, are actually getting more exclusive, not less exclusive.
Now, a lot of your peers in the auto industry are very concerned about Brexit right now, the ability to be able to import parts as easily as at the moment. Do you share those anxieties?
I'm less concerned about tariffs. We're reasonably well insulated as a luxury group against tariffs. We may lose a little bit of market share in Europe as a result of a tariff, but we'll pick some market share up in the UK because the tariffs are imposed, hit Ferrari and Lamborghini. So net, it's good. We'll be okay. Likewise, I expect the pound to soften, and that's good for an exporter. So I prefer not to have tariffs, but we'll cope with them if they come. But you're absolutely right, the supply chain is the key. We buy about 60% of our parts from continental Europe. We expect supply shortages. We expect parts to be locked at ports. We're increasing our days of stock from 3 days to 5 days. If you think about the weekends, that gives us 9 days that we can go without parts. Longer than that, there are a lot of companies in more trouble than we are, but we also have on standby the ability to fly parts to the UK. The benefit of being a small manufacturer, we can do that, or indeed use alternative ports. So we're ready. We have to be ready, but obviously what we hope is that common sense prevails amongst the politicians and we find a better solution than simply falling out of Brexit.
This is the first solely UK-owned and listed car maker for 3 decades. Are you proud of that?
I'm immensely proud. I mean, I entered into the auto world in 1979. This is my 40th year working in autos, and when I joined it was relatively easy. I live near Birmingham, and the Detroit of the UK, if you want, and all of my friends went into auto. And over the course of 40 years I've gradually seen the demise of the British car industry. We've become very good at making cars for other people, but there were no truly British car companies left. And what that means is in hard times that there's nowhere for the kids of today to get trained in auto, there's no career progression, there's no intellectual property. And part of my mission with Aston has been to reverse that. to be, I don't know whether we call ourselves the last British car company or the first British car company, but we certainly are the only British car company now listed as a PLC on the London Stock Exchange. Very, very proud.